As a co-founder and director of leading Melbourne-based design studio Golden, Kylie Buhagiar plays a pivotal role in shaping the studio's direction, culture, and client experience. Over the past decade, she and her business partner, Alicia McKim, have cultivated a portfolio defined by clarity, warmth, and refined restraint. With a strong foundation in visual arts and a deep appreciation for the design process, Kylie brings a unique perspective that bridges creativity and spatial design to the practice. Her intuitive leadership style and focus on relationships underpins Golden's collaborative approach and enduring client partnerships. Golden's work spans residential, hospitality, and workplace projects, each one reflecting the studio's commitment to thoughtful, timeless design. Outside the studio, Kylie's world is anchored by her young family, and she brings the same calm, considered energy to both realms of her life. On that note, Kylie, welcome to Her Design, Her Story. Thank you so much for having us today.
Wow.
Very excited. We crossed paths quite a few years ago. We were having a chat before, I think, when you were starting your business. But I'm very excited to have the opportunity to sit down and speak to you individually. We were also talking about the fact, obviously, in a co-director partnership with Alicia McKim, often your interviews around projects and things are together as a team. But we've separated you.
Yes, I know. I think it's probably one of the first interviews we've done where we're not sitting side by side. So it'll be interesting to not have her to bounce off, but you'll probably get a lot more from me. I'll probably speak a little bit more.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. And
we're in your beautiful office space today, which is incredible. You've got some beautiful furniture pieces and things in here. So I always love seeing where people work as well. It's a really calm, tranquil space. How long have you been in the space for?
So we moved in here March, COVID hit.
Oh, wow.
So that's been 5-6 years, I think now. And I guess it was owned, or it was occupied by an architect previously for a long, long time. There's a lot of red joinery, black carpet, but I think we could see beyond that, and the fact that we've got natural light flanking us from both sides of the building, and we have the 2 levels, that was definitely the reason we sort of decided to commit to the lease. And it was tricky in the sense that we moved in and then we had to move out and work remotely for a period of time. But I think once we were all back in the studio, we spent quite some time designing the space to make it feel like ours. So I think the way that you've just described it is very much we wanted it to feel warm but also refined, and there's a few unexpected bits and pieces in here that we want it to feel like Golden. So when our clients come in, they get a good sense of how we like our spaces to feel.
Yeah, no, it's a really interesting space. We were saying it would be great for a party as well.
Yeah, we've never had a party. We've always avoided them, but maybe now's the time.
No, it's beautiful. Obviously, we'll touch on the amazing body of work that you've done with Alicia over the years in Golden. But going back to the beginning of your individual journey, you were at school in Melbourne. Is that right? What was your movement after you left school? Did you go straight into study or did you take some time?
I did go straight into study. So I think I was always studious in high school and I always spent a lot of time in the visual arts room. So I guess from a young age, I kind of knew that my career path would be creative. And then straight outside of school, I went to study visual arts. And so I studied visual arts at RMIT and I loved that. And I think I was very energised by sculpture and space and form. And so I think when I rounded up that course, I had a bit of a chat with my dad and he said, how are you going to apply this and get a job moving forward and give, I guess, my creativity a practical purpose. And so it felt like a natural transition to apply that to interior design. So then I started interior design and decoration at RMIT, started studying that, and I just loved the design component, and midway through I transferred into the degree. So I never really looked back. I really enjoyed I spent a lot of time at university, but I think the conceptual side that I bring to our work is probably very much driven by those early
and I often
beginnings.
think I studied architecture, which was a really long degree, and then I decided to do my master's, much to my parents' horror. So I think I was there for 7.5 years. But I feel like that time as well, you can sort of indulge in extra learning and really have time to sort of process what you're doing and you're just really enhancing life skills and things like that. And I think any over and above, like with the visual arts, I mean, it's certainly prevalent in your work. I think that sense of scale and texture and form, which is really beautiful, and some great art in here as well. So on completing your studies, did you go straight into working or did you take a bit of time off? What did that look like when you finished?
While I was finishing my degree, I actually had the opportunity to spend a little bit of time in an architectural studio or a design studio, and so I was very grateful for that time. So I did a couple of days a week just kind of annoying them, sorting out the finishers library, kind of trying to become, I guess, a piece of furniture within the space. And so that then progressed into a part-time role whilst I finished my degree, and I think I got a lot of on-the-ground training from a very early stage, and I went on to have a full-time role as a graduate designer when I finished my degree, and I ended up working for that same design firm for 5 years. So I credit a lot of my early training to the directors there.
Yeah. Well, I think that's important, and I think it can be hard, with that all important things we're learning at university or at colleges and things. But I think sometimes that practical skill as well is I've been talking to people about that sense of business or how, client presentations unfold, and there's so many things that you can't learn when you're studying.
No, when there's a client deadline, there's a client deadline.
Yeah, exactly. So you've worked in some really prolific design firms. What were your next steps? So you're working for that designer for a few years. Did you seek to get more experience before you decided to go out on your own?
Yeah, so I worked for SJB, which was an interior design studio within the architectural practice, and I think what I loved about that was that there was a connection to architecture, and we had so much crossover, and I think that built a really great foundation for me understanding the way that our interiors slot within a bigger building. And then I think I just got to a point where I probably just wanted to push myself and figure out how I could design elsewhere. I guess I was always the junior within the team, and so I was just ready to spread my wings. I ended up working for another Melbourne design practice for another 2 years, and that was great. That gave me a great breadth of experience in different types of projects. It was quite a small team when I first joined the studio, and so we were able to really sink our teeth into a lot of the project work and being in front of clients. So that was great experience for me.
Oh, that's good. And then, of course, you have evolved your business with Alicia. How did you two first meet each other?
Well, we first met at university, so we did have a crossover of one design subject.
Yeah.
But we didn't have a lot to do with each other outside of that. And then we ended up working at the same design firm. So Alicia spent some time at SJB, and then we also crossed over at the next design firm. So it was unintentional, but we seemed to follow the same career path. And whilst we worked within the same studio, we never were assigned on the same projects. So we're kind of always working independently, but I think we had a mutual respect for each other's work and aesthetic. So we built a good working rapport, I guess, over the years.
Oh, that's good.
And we also had, just to mention, because I think it is relevant, we worked on there was one project we had the opportunity to work on together outside of the studio, which was a private project, which ended up on Grand Designs. And so I think that was our first kind of little test of working together. And we sort of tag teamed. Alicia did some travel and I ran some of the project, and then she came back, and we kind of somehow naturally built a bit of a working relationship. So
Oh no,
started early on.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. Is there's obviously sort of like a driver that brought you guys together to start work?
Yes.
Was it that project, the Grand Designs project, that
I think so, and I think the way that we approach our design process is very different, or we come at it from two different extremes, and I think that kind of questioning or I guess debate about what is right for the project is actually where we find the essence of what our golden work is now. And I think I can be a little bit more conceptual and big picture thinking, and Alicia can come at it from a more practical standpoint, but I think us push and pulling from two different ends up really fleshing out a great result. And I think we had that from the beginning, and I think we always respected the other person's design opinion. So we've always been grateful for the skills that we bring, which is so opposite to each other.
Oh, that's I think the key to any great partnership is that sense of balance, which is fantastic. You guys have been working together for over 10 years now, which is amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you.
It's, we often talk about in creative industries, you often feel different changes in the market and things like that. So I think it's a real credit to you both that it's lasted the test of time.
Thank you.
With the practice as well, I remember when we first crossed paths, you started out as We Are Huntley.
Yes.
And then I was speaking to you earlier, I remember this really beautiful graphic that you guys posted and this really endearing message about your rebrand to Golden. Was that quite a pivotal change in the studio for you when you had that rebranding?
Yes, I think it most definitely was, and it was very deliberate. So when we first started the business name, we didn't give it a lot of thought, and it wasn't something that we definitely didn't set to open up a studio that was going to span 12 years of business together. It was very different. So I think that we got to a point where our body of work was no longer reflecting, or it had matured and it had outgrown the name that we were operating under. And I think we sort of thought we need to do a rebrand, we need to take a pause, and we need to understand what is the formula, or what is it that we're producing. And so we worked with Mike Gieser to, I guess, go through a discovery process that we could kind of start to identify what it was about our work that we wanted to be able to articulate externally. And we did deliberately set up, I guess, a business name that we could operate underneath without putting our faces forward. But we're starting to kind of unravel that a little bit now, because I think people are kind of craving or wanting to know who's behind the brand. But it did start off with us wanting to talk about the feeling that we're creating within spaces, and that was a consistent theme.
Exactly. No, I do remember that graphic because I thought it was a really beautiful story and a really clever rebrand at the time. It must have been a few years ago now. In terms of your current business structure, obviously talking about being in business for 12 years, what's the structure of your office like at the moment? There's obviously you and Alicia are the directors. What's the team around you like at the moment?
We're a small team, but I think we've refined the scale of our team over the years. It's been bigger and it's been smaller, and I think at the moment it feels quite right.
Yeah.
So we've got a team of 4 designers supporting us. We've also got a general manager or studio coordinator role that supports Alicia and I from an admin perspective, and that's been really important because I think it's allowed us to step back into the design process and be more client-facing and just know that the day-to-day runnings of the business are taken care of. We've worked very hard to establish systems and processes and I guess brain dump all of the things that Alicia and I have been doing for 12 years and putting it on paper to enable things to keep running when we're not physically present every single day. So
yeah, I think that's a real skill in itself. I was talking to someone recently, I'm terrible at delegating, but I think sometimes it's that being able to sort of highlight where someone can come and help you quite successfully, and there's only so much you can do.
Yes, there's only so many hours in the day. And I think once we became mothers, we knew we just needed to create a bit of a support network for us back at home and also in the studio to be able to come and go and just create great design. So you sort of figure out very quickly where your time is best spent in the business and how you fill the gaps.
And also I think it's that balance as well when clients sort of identify a brand so strongly with you. It's sort of how much of yourself can you give to design, oversee design work, but also those other facets. It can be hard to find that balance as well. The work that you guys do is stunning. It's amazing. And you very cleverly cross between residential and workplace and, retail projects. You've done some beautiful smaller projects as well. Is that something, are you both across all the project work, or do you have sort of different specialties within the office?
We both come from a high-end residential background, and I think that was always our passion are our core, but interestingly, our first bigger scale project was a boutique supermarket. Yeah. So we ended up getting quite a bit of press. It was the Paran grocer in Paran and Cassie Hansen from Artichoke magazine.
Yes.
Sorry, I'm just trying to think back. She was a great supporter of the project and gave us a little bit of press. And I think off the back of that, we started to get quite a bit of commercial work and my conceptual background, I guess, tapping into brand identity and how we can spatially brand a space. I think that started to definitely come through. So we've been very lucky to work on some great retail projects, some hospitality projects, but yeah, our passion still lies with high-end residential design.
They are I do love a good residential project.
And I think we knew that our business needed a little bit of both in terms of the pace of each, having some projects that span a bigger period of time and some that sort of eventuated quicker. And I guess in the early days of our business, having something to show for being able to kind of talk about your work publicly or have something photographed was important to us in the early days, and that's why we tried to do both.
Yeah, that's smart actually, because some projects, can span. I was thinking about a residential project I'm working on at the moment. It's been one of those unicorn projects where it's been an amazing builder, amazing client. I've just been such a pleasure to work on. But I was thinking, oh goodness, I was feeling a bit sad it's coming to an end in November. And I was thinking, but it's been 3 years of involvement and, which has been so worth it. But in that time, you're sort of hoping to pick up other projects and other work, but it takes quite a lot of time to then get that photographed. And so that's quite smart actually with the shorter lead time projects.
Lead times, yeah. Not all of them. But
and good to kind of mix up the
just to be able to have something on site, I think, and start to see your work realised while you're working on the ones that might span 2 years. Yeah. It's always quite satisfying.
Have you done much work interstate, or is most of your work local in Melbourne?
We have. We've got 2 projects that are active in Sydney at the moment, some boutique townhouses. We've done some work in Perth. We've also worked on a cafe in London. So
amazing.
I guess we figured out how we can make that
was that Penny Round?
The Penny Drop, no, that one was
here.
Well, it was in Melbourne, and then there was a smaller offshoot that happened in London.
Right, yeah.
And I happened to be travelling in London around that period of time, so I was able to go and see the site. And yeah, in that instance, that kind of worked, but it doesn't always happen.
Yeah.
I'd love to be going to London more often.
I know, certain complexities. Continuing on from the sort of sense of evolution of your office, obviously finding inspiration and motivation, particularly in a creative sense, to keep us all, interested in what we're doing is really important. Your office delivers such beautiful work. I think for me, one of the biggest things is the palette. Looking at the projects, there's this wonderful layer of colour and texture, but it's quite subtle. It feels very sophisticated. Is this sort of approach to design something that you're continually evolving? Do you look for new inspiration for each project, or are there certain sort of resources or designers you fall back on when you're starting with a new client?
Definitely. I think
Sorry, that was a very loaded question.
No, that's all right. I'm wondering where I start with the answer. But I think to your point of who we reference, I think we are always referencing the masters from the design principles and keeping true to the values that we've set the business on. And we talk a lot about being pragmatic, detail-driven, functional, but it must be beautiful at the same time. And I think every project that comes into the studio, we set to achieve a sense of timelessness with each of those jobs, but we know that it needs to still be unique and reflect the client's personality. So I think when we begin a new job, there will be points, there'll be inspiration that we might source and we might reference, but I think it often starts as being contextual, and it starts from the client brief and we try and draw something out of that. There's always something that the client has brought to a project that we kind of pull apart and then kind of springboard off.
Yeah.
So, and I think with our design process, the way that we have broken things up, Alicia and I will debate and talk heavily around the direction, and I think we both know when we've found that right balance of what the essence of the project should look like moving forward.
Yeah. No, I think it's interesting as well. We were talking earlier about some of our favourite designers. I think sometimes if there's sort of a design conundrum, or if I'm looking at wall panelling detail, it's sort of having some of those incredible talents that have sort of tried and tested a lot to fall back on.
And it might be people like John Pawson for their beautiful form and minimalism, but then I think we start to layer things up with our materials and colour. But if we know that the essence and the core is refined, well planned and minimal, then that sort of sets the tone and the base for everything to follow. Yeah. We always talk about removing something, not necessarily adding another 5 things to give it interest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think that's great. In terms of obviously you've got 4 team members as well. When you start a new project, I think the thing I miss sometimes is, and I fall back on a lot of design friends who we've worked together, we often get together and talk about project work and sort of almost have like design sessions together. Is that something that's quite helpful in the office? Do you guys all get together and talk about new projects and sort of design sharing, I guess?
Definitely. We're a very collaborative studio. Yeah. We like, if we get the opportunity, Alicia and I like to have a bit of a round table at the very beginning of a project just to identify where we think it might head and sort of set the tone. So we might come to that with a curation of 3 or 4 images or something we've seen that just feels right. And so that allows us to then gather the team and let them in on where we see the project might head. But I think that's the very, very beginning of the process. And we talk about establishing a big idea in the project, and that's really us just kind of trying to get the essence of it. But then as a team, we extract from that and it kind of starts to grow and evolve, which is the fun part.
No, I think it's good, and there's so much information available now. Like I've often spoken to other designers about the fact, in a good way, clients can be so informed. So it's how do we get an edge or stay ahead or stay relevant?
Yes.
There's a lot of information. So no, I think that's great, that sort of sense of collaboration.
And our team is seeing so many beautiful things too. So we need to leverage off that. They're bringing a different lens.
Yeah. No, I think it's good. I think it's, sometimes can be a bit overwhelming to end in these rabbit holes of image sourcing. We were touching on earlier when we were having a chat, you guys have got some beautiful products and things that you're showcasing as a bit of a step forward, evolving your business. Are there any, the next 12 months for you, are there any sort of key interesting projects or next steps in business that you guys are looking ahead to?
We have a lot happening in the background that we probably haven't articulated, and we have a team that supports us with our social media at the moment, and they're pushing us to kind of project some of that. So the answer is yes. We're working on a custom bed range with Zen Design, and that will be a full I don't know how much I'm allowed to talk about it yet, but like a bedroom suite. And look, there's a whole collection of pieces that will sit underneath that umbrella, and that's very exciting. That's been in the works for a couple of months, and I think it'll be nice to see some product that's been derived by our design principles that we apply to an interior, and it's tested us in the sense that we need to figure out what would work in lots of different scenarios. We're not controlling the whole space, but how does that fit in? We're also starting to work on, a sub-brand for Golden, which is called Collections, and that's very much the beginning of us trying to gather different Melbourne makers that might be able to sit underneath the Golden brand as a series or a collection each quarter, and we could support each other, and they're all objects or makers and people that we feel are aligned with what we do and the interiors we produce. So that there's a little bit happening.
Yeah, no, it's exciting. I think that's, we were talking before about that aspect of, I think firstly, part of the joy in the work that we get to do is I love collaborating with different people, and particularly if there's a custom furniture piece or, something like that's really exciting. And obviously then there's that extension of your studio. Not everyone has necessarily the need at that time to involve like a whole interior process, but a lot of people are always looking for a little bit of, something. So whether it's an object or, I think that's really beautiful and something people
something tangible they might be able to get in the short term before they can then invest in getting their interior design.
Renovation. Yeah,
just a taste.
Obviously, in line with your amazing design business. You have a busy life outside work. You have 2 young sons. What does the structure of life outside work look like for you? I know that can be quite a tricky question, but I've found it quite interesting speaking to people about the sense sometimes when things are a bit chaotic in one aspect, the other needs to be a bit more ordered. You know, things ever evolving. How does that sort of structure work for you at the moment?
It is ever changing, and it's busy, but I'm grateful my husband has his own business, and I think that our weeks are very busy, and I think it's an ever changing target. There's always something that's shifting, but I think he has a level of flexibility, and so between us both, we're able to, I guess, find some structure for home life and to be around to do drop off and pick up for the boys. They're things that are important to us, and we tag team on how that looks throughout the week to kind of balance out some set days for me here in the studio. I find that it's important that I have some consistency in the time that I spend here, but also consistency with the time that I spend at home with the family, because if I feel satisfied in my home life, I give more back to the business, and I feel look, it's never balanced. It's always a little bit busy, but I think if I know that I'm still giving back at home, it doesn't feel swayed one way or the other.
Yeah. And I think, it's, as we were talking about before, that sort of sense of ever evolving with age of children and after school activities. And
well, this is our first year at primary school, so that's been a whole other ball game. And the hours are really interesting.
Or I feel bad sometimes because there are some kids that get to do all the things, and I just say to my girls, we just have to draw the line. It's 2 activities. That's it.
Yeah, I understand. You can't be everywhere. No,
it's tricky. In terms of that balance as well, is there any sort of special things you like to do with your family at the weekend, or any ways that you try to, I think, sometimes in a creative profession, it's hard not to fully, stop thinking about work, or, you're seeing things all the time. Are there any things particularly you do to kind of relax and just tune out with your family?
Tune out and relax are not 2 words I can associate to my own life. Yeah. I've got 2 very active boys and an active husband, which is why we live where we live. I think we are lucky to be near the water, so we spend a lot of time outside. So I think a lot of our weekends are spent outdoors, exerting all the boys' energy.
Yep.
And then if I can wrangle them all to the NGV for a visit on the weekend, I'm really winning. But the weekends are just busy. I'm quite a grounded person in the sense that I love my home space, and I'm very happy to be at home. My husband loves to travel, and the boys love to be active and out and about. So
it's probably a good balance, actually.
I try. Yeah. I'm trying to wrangle them for a weekend at home typically.
Yeah. No, it's all fun, isn't it? Before we wrap, I just wanted to get a few questions from you in her edit. So I just had some quick fire things to touch on. What was the first design-related purchase you ever made? Can you remember?
Well, I technically didn't purchase it. I won it at Saturday in Design when I was a graduate, but I loved it. So it was the Artemidi Tizio light.
Oh, that's a good one.
And I still love it to this day.
Stunning.
So I was very lucky to win that in a raffle. So it wasn't a purchase. But I think one of my larger design purchases was probably a Brazilian sofa and armchair set by Jean Guillon. So it was a Brazilian style furniture setting, and we at the time were living in Mount Eliza, so it was very relevant to the mid-century style house we were in. Yeah. But I've since sold that. Yeah. It doesn't fit in the little house that we're in at the moment.
Anything on your wish list at the moment that you would love to purchase? I think it can be hard because we're always exposed to so much furniture.
I was recently looking at a second-hand Casina La Barca dining table, which would just be a dream. But that one hasn't come to life.
You can keep coveting.
And it wouldn't fit. I've been looking at getting a USM unit for our living room or something that I know I can move no matter where we end up. I can move it between spaces. So
Oh no, it's always hard to choose. We see so many great things.
So many things.
Next travel destination, actual or aspirational?
Actual, we took the boys to the snow recently, so we're now planning ahead for next season, and we'd like to stay on the mountain. So that'll be something that we start to lock in. But I'm probably at a point where I can start to get my head around the idea of taking the boys on a plane for a longer flight. Yeah. So we'd love to get to Europe. My family's all in Croatia, and it would be amazing to be able to take them there at some point. But before now, a long haul flight like that hasn't seemed feasible.
A little bit overwhelming.
A little bit.
Design faux pas you secretly love or love to hate?
I can't handle an armchair off a rug. I really struggle with a half on, half off scenario. Yeah. No, or too many pendant lights.
That's a good one, actually.
Yeah, I know it, anything goes, but I really can't do it, especially in a shoot.
Yep. I like that. Favourite creative icon, living or legend?
Charlotte Perriand, French designer. And I think it's because she seems to find the perfect balance of refined minimalism but with an element of craft, and her furniture pieces still stand the test of time.
I think I find that quite amazing. I was speaking to someone about one of her chairs recently, and they couldn't believe when it was designed.
It's still relevant.
And they really quite contemporary still, which is amazing. We did touch on this a little bit earlier, but if you're able to describe your aesthetic in 3 words. I feel like you nailed it before.
Oh, did I? I would say refined, minimal, but crafted.
Yeah.
Yeah, and effortless in a way. Or that's more than 3 words.
Yeah, that's all right. Yeah. No, I think that captures the essence of Golden really well. My final question was, if your star was a celebrity, who would it be?
Oh, I thought this was a really tough one. I'm going to circle it back to fashion because I'm not very good with celebrities otherwise.
Yeah, that's fair.
So I thought perhaps it's the female fashion designer who owns the brand Toteme, so Ellen Klang. Yeah. And I think she's just effortless and calm, and I love everything she stands for. So if I can generate a little bit of that, I'd be
beautiful
proud.
Products as well.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your time today, Kylie. I've really enjoyed speaking to you. Thank you for speaking to us separately.
Oh, thank you.
No, we appreciate your time. Thanks so much.
Thanks for having me.